Welcome to this explainer. Listen, today we're going to completely shatter your illusions of comfort, and I'm going to prove to you that your perceived exhaustion is, well, it's nothing more than a biological lie. I'm genuinely pumped you're here because we are diving straight into the raw, fascinating, and honestly pretty uncomfortable neuroscience behind human willpower. Okay, let's just dive right into this jarring reality. Your human brain actually evolved to conserve energy. It basically acts as an internal governor that completely tricks you into stopping well before you actually need to. Think about it. Every single time you choose the couch over the grind, you're surrendering to this neurological governor that artificially limits your physical and mental potential. You might genuinely think you're completely exhausted, but you're really just experiencing a neurological illusion that's designed entirely to protect you from discomfort. Section 1. The atrophy of your aMCC. We have to start with a really harsh truth about what your addiction to convenience is physically doing to your mind. By constantly seeking the path of least resistance, you are systematically eroding your brain's capacity to tolerate friction. The neuroscience here is undeniable. A lifestyle revolving around fast food, convenience, and nonstop digital escapism is literally inflicting permanent biological damage. It is rotting your neurocircuitry from the inside out. Your conscious mind is basically acting like a corrupt press secretary right now, just constantly rationalizing your cowardice so you can maintain this comfortable, curated self-image. And that brings us right to the core of the science, the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, or the aMCC. This right here is the neurological hub of your willpower and tenacity. And science shows that this critical brain region physically shrinks in obese individuals and in people who just habitually avoid doing hard things. It literally strips away their determination. The crazy thing? The aMCC only grows when you force yourself to execute tasks you desperately want to avoid. If you don't actively engage in voluntary suffering, this cortex simply atrophies, which leaves you super vulnerable to age-related cognitive decline. Section 2. The 40% biological lie. So, let's look at how this builds into the greatest trick your nervous system has ever played on you. The absolutely crucial point here is that when your brain begs you to quit because you feel completely, utterly exhausted, mathematically, you have only hit 40% of your maximum biological capacity. Let that sink in. The remaining 60%? It's locked behind a mental barrier specifically designed by your brain to keep you safe and comfortable. And here is the real trap. Your baseline for feeling tired is usually nothing more than just boredom and a biological lie. Because of that corrupt press secretary in your mind we talked about, you're existing in a state of self-inflicted weakness. You're trapped in this endless loop of experiential avoidance, constantly running away from the exact pain that is required for your actual growth. Section 3. Hijacking your dopamine system. To break this vicious cycle of avoidance, we have to totally restructure how your brain processes reward and effort. See, dopamine isn't just a reward molecule. It is the fundamental neurochemical driver of pursuit and action. You have to consciously attach your dopamine release to the friction and the pain of the effort itself, rather than just sitting around waiting for the final reward. When you finally learn to find pleasure in that painful process, you literally build an infinite reservoir of motivation. Notice the stark contrast here. There is a massive difference between motivation and discipline. You have to force immediate action. Honestly, stop waiting for motivation to strike. Motivation is a complete myth for the undisciplined. Dopamine is generated after you initiate the grueling process, not before. You've got to force the action, endure the pain, and just let your neurochemistry catch up to your relentless discipline. Section 4. Embracing radical accountability. Once your neurochemistry is primed for friction, we must ruthlessly strip away your victim mindset. It's time for radical accountability. Ancient Stoic philosophy warned against the exact kind of passive, powerless existence so many people currently lead. You are wasting irreplaceable decades hoping someone is going to magically show up and solve your problems, while your potential just drains into an abyss of unredeemable days. You have to wake up and recognize that waiting for a miracle is actively destroying your life. Think about it. When you play the victim, your amygdala actually becomes hyperactive. It's constantly scanning for threats, keeping you trapped in this terrible cycle of helplessness and resentment. But true sovereignty, that demands radical accountability. It means the absolute refusal to blame external circumstances for your failures. The Stoic knows that pain is completely inevitable, but suffering without purpose, that's a choice. Section 5. The Bark Room Protocol. All right, now we enter the highly actionable, scientifically backed protocol to rebuild your mental sovereignty from the ground up. You have to master the science of limbic friction, which is basically the exact measurement of activation energy required to overcome your own laziness. To do this, you must willingly descend into the metaphorical darkroom of your own mind to actively hunt down your deepest insecurities. So let's break this protocol down step by step. Step 1, isolate yourself from all technological distractions. That is the dark room. Step 2, confront your ugliest flaws on the accountability mirror. Write your most brutal truths on sticky notes. Seriously, if you're out of shape, admit you're out of shape. Stop gaslighting yourself. Step 3, execute a highly aversive daily microsuck. Taking the freezing cold shower is a great example. And step 4, when your brain is screaming at you to quit, you must overthrow that central governor by pushing 5 to 10% further into the misery. Section 6, callousing your mind. Systematizing these painful daily habits is exactly how we permanently upgrade your psychological architecture to actually tolerate friction. When we map this out, we can see how the clinical concept of learned resilience perfectly parallels methods used by people like David Goggins. Just as lifting heavy iron calluses your hands, you have to expose yourself to calculated mental and physical friction to callous your mind. It proves that when you systematize your suffering, pain literally becomes data and exhaustion becomes transformation. By deliberately chasing pain like it's your full-time job, you expose yourself to the calculated friction required to build that mental callus. You build your inner beast through relentless, chosen agony. And doing this literally forces your neurobiology to evolve into an apex predator state. Seriously, just look around you. The masses are weak. They're operating on autopilot, completely paralyzed by the fear of their own potential. They just cower in the safe haven of low expectations, using past trauma as an excuse to remain lazy, entitled cowards. They're consumers, not creators, trapped in a mutual enslavement of dependency. We exist in a society that normalizes mediocrity and literally pathologizes the discipline required for greatness. As the saying goes, most men die at 25 and simply wait until they are 75 to be buried, living lives of quiet desperation. You've got to recognize you are competing against biological failures. Stepping away from the herd means taking immediate, massive action. Force the action, endure the pain, and let your neurochemistry catch up to your relentless discipline. Stop relying on fleeting feelings and start relying on undeniable, raw execution. You must completely strip away your comfortable illusions and just accept that suffering without purpose is a choice. You are the architect of your reality. Radical accountability is your only path forward. Push into the misery until the very idea of quitting absolutely disgusts you. Grow that aMCC by doing the exact things you desperately want to avoid, every single day. The time for consuming content is officially over. Ask yourself right now, are you going to keep running from discomfort, wasting your life in the safety of the herd? Or are you going to descend into the dark room, face your unvarnished reality, and forcefully evolve your neurobiology? The time for passive consumption is done. How will you reshape your aMCC today to transform your exhaustion into absolute sovereignty?